celebrating Hungarians on the border, from here and beyond, celebrating Hungarians without borders. The idea of freedom of Hungary has been rumbling for centuries on the sky of time and history. Its origin dates back 1,000 years, and it will surely continue for thousands of years on its path among the stars. The idea of freedom of Hungary is eternal and timeless. However, 177 years ago, it collided with Idusa of Martius and Buda of Pest at the same time and place. On that day, the form of Hungarian freedom won. It took shape, and it came among us. March 15th is not an ordinary day for us, not even a historical one, but a sacral moment. March 15th is a day ordained for every nation of Hungary. It is eternal and inviolable, and it remains so until the last Hungarian lives on this earth. The young people say this with eternal confidence, but without any sense of self-confidence. Our grandfathers and fathers have passed away more than a century ago, and they are not as old as we are, under 24 hours. Glory be to the youth of March, honorable commemorators. Every year before life runs dry, before the trees wither away, before the harvest comes, and the life of the citizens of Pest disappears, it is then, precisely then, that we Hungarians must hold an important meeting. This is why we are here today. Before the great spring of happiness, we must remind each other of a few things that Hungarians can only talk about with necessary seriousness. We must remind ourselves of our common national duty, and we must remind ourselves of our duty to protect and serve until the next harvest. Honorable commemorators, we have been hearing for many years that we are the past. This was said in 1948 by the bright future of the Empire of Vienna. This was said in 1956 by the future of the Red Soviet Empire. This is still being said today by the future of the World Empire. This was said that we are the past. But on the other side of the Great Water, on the other side of the Operencia, a revolution took place, and it became clear that we are the future. It became clear that the future is not for the empire, but for the patriots and independent nations. They also said that we are isolated. This was also said in 1848. Then the whole of Europe was silent about the Hungarians. Even in Vienna, a citizen of Buda led the oppressive forces. This was also said in 1956. But in the end, we Hungarians knocked out the first brick from the Berlin Wall, which brought freedom to the whole of Europe. And this is still being said today. We are isolated. And yet everyone is interested in us. Why is the world interested in us? Why is the world interested in us? This kind of world is certainly not because of the size of our economy or the firepower of our army. What do we have that they do not have there in the West? And would they need it? Széchenyi taught us that every nation has its own profession, its essence, its national element. There are nations whose business is their element. There are nations whose farming is their element. There are nations whose philosophy is their element. And there are nations whose science is their element. But what is it that our blood boils for? What is it that our hearts beat for? What is the element of the Hungarian? My dear friends of freedom. The element of the Hungarians is freedom. The Hungarian man is in his element when he fights for his freedom. We are fighters of freedom. We know how to defend freedom. We know how to protect freedom. This knowledge is ours. We have been cultivating this knowledge for 1,000 years. This is what we defend. This is our DNA. And this is what the world needs today much more than ever before. Even now, we have remained steadfast against a world empire. Only we have succeeded in this. What is our great secret? The Hungarians are the alchemy of the modern age. This is why the half-world comes to us, from Vienna to Washington. Our struggle for freedom, just as it was in 1848, is no longer just a matter of the Hungarians. Today they are really fighting for the spirit of the Western world. The empire wants to mix things up. It wants to replace its European ancestors with foreign civilizations with their invading masses. It wants to transform our children and grandchildren from the healthy order of creation to the chaos of life against nature. The empire wants to take away the order and culture of Christian life, and instead of peace, it wants to put us in the service of the gods of war. The imperial machine has swallowed the entire Western world, but we have stuck to the borders of Hungary. We did not give up. We did not allow them to take over the country, the parliament, or the government. It has been 15 years since they could not stand us, and all their weapons have been thrown at us. They have not been happy with bribes, with money, with threats, with soldiers, or with the Brusselites. We have won 4 elections in a row, and for 15 years they have not been able to break into our defense lines. We did not give up. We held out because we believed that the wind would turn once. And the wind did. The patriots of the Western world have been given strength and have won. After Italy, the Netherlands, and Austria, we are flying in bonds in the United States. In the struggle for the soul of the Western world today, we are standing for victory. We can be proud because we were the pioneers of the world-sized war of freedom. And we broke the path. Glory to all Hungarians who did not retreat from the fate of the empire, who did not surrender to Brussels, and did not join the liberal American empire. The Hungarian flag is still flying proudly today. We can count on it in front of our children and grandchildren. There will be a lot to continue. Ladies and gentlemen, the secret of the Hungarian struggle for freedom has always been the same. The Hungarian never fought only for himself, but also for his nation. He fought for himself and for his country. We are the people of freedom who cannot exist without two things: freedom and nationhood. We live and die for them as we want to, as free Hungarians. My friends, freedom is the nation. This country, the country of the Hungarians, is ours. We do not desire anything else, but we do not give it up. We cannot get rid of it by force, by threat, by treachery, and we will never give up. Never, never, never. Honorable celebrators, just as national heroes, the empires do not change either. Felhold, Szars, Csillag, Vörös, or Uniós, Sarga. The empire only wants nobility and eternal possessions. Hungarians are never allowed to be subordinates and taxpayers. And there is always an empire that strives for the freedom of Hungarians, now a Brussels one. Brussels is reviving with its power as it did in Vienna at the time. They want to rule us just as the residents of the court of Vienna did. My medical friends, we are not turning our backs on the European Union. On the contrary, we are going inwards. We will occupy it and change it. There will be another event in Brussels. The time will come and we will settle all scores. We will send a message to Petofi that if he does not fit into his skin, we will pull him out of it. We will break down the barriers, we will reclaim our rights confiscated, and we will send back our slaves from Brussels with a postcard. Let's rejoice in the European Parliament. Honorable members of Parliament, the empires are hungry for their nature, and their inhabitants are fearless. They always want more money and always want a new generation. But Hungarians know that we should be free not only in terms of self-esteem, but also in terms of pay. Work, education, well-being and security can only come to us if the oppressors do not exploit us. Service makes the poor poor. Freedom makes the rich rich. This is the law of Hungarian well-being. Here in Hungary, for 15 years, in the shadow of the battles fought against the empire, we have built the only patriotic nation-state in Europe. We sent the IMF home. We regulated the multis and the banks. We took back the Hungarian energy system. We put the entire nation-state in the service of the Hungarian people. We took back all of Brussels' embezzlement, which it wanted to play with the money and wealth of the Hungarians. Then we also endured the 3 years of war. And because of the Russian-Ukrainian war, Hungary suffered the biggest economic loss in the entire Union. Nevertheless, despite this, we will make Europe, and even the entire Western world, the biggest tax deficit. With this, we open a new chapter in the history of Hungarian economy. We will create the world's first family-based economy. Until the age of 30, single-parent mothers do not pay for their children's education. This is a world sensation. With this, we ensure the future of Hungarian families for many decades. We have only one task left: to defend ourselves again and again against the attacks of Brussels, where it wants to take away from the Hungarian people. Dick Ferenc said, "We can risk everything for the country, but we must not risk the country at all." But Diak is not read in Brussels. Therefore, Europe jumped headfirst into the Russian-Ukrainian war. Let us never cause more trouble than we want to harm. We cannot do good to anyone by destroying our country in the process. Therefore, we did not jump with them, but rather remained on the side of peace. The empire does not want to help Ukraine, but wants to fertilize it. The tool of fertilization is war. European leaders have decided that Ukraine must continue the war. It will get what it gets, and in exchange it will get a quick union membership on our money. We can have only one answer to this: a union, but without Ukraine. The Hungarians were not asked about the war, but they cannot not ask about. There is no European decision without Hungary. 1 year ago, the question was whether we wanted to die for Ukraine. Now the question is whether we want to join Ukraine. My dear friends, let us vote. On the glorious day of 15th of March, 1848, the laws of Higad and Bolks followed. These laws put freedom under protection on the 15th of March. This will be the case even now. After today's celebration of unification, there will be the great cleansing of Auschwitz. The Poles have crossed the line. Let us recalculate the financial machine that bought politicians, judges, journalists from corrupt dollars, civil society, and political activists. Let us recalculate the whole shadow army. They are our New Age laborers, the poor people of Brussels, who, against their country, are pushing their army's sack for money. My friends, they have been here for too long. They have lived through too much. They have received money from too many places. They have changed their hats too many times. In 1848, imperial birds sat on our necks, and now Weber's sons are crowding over our heads. They had just had enough. Spring wind, flood, let them take care of themselves. Their flag is scarlet. Their fate is shame and humiliation. If there is truth, and there already is, then in hell there is only misery waiting for them. We know you well, even though you are hiding in your new European party nest. Your policies are the same. Your plans are the same. And don't hope that your fate will be the same. We will defeat you again and again, because the sword is at the lighter side of the chain. God is above all of us. Hungary is before all of us.